So hello guys, my name is William Kimani from Inceptor, Kenya. Okay, today I'm going to give you a short video on how you can repair your own sound system at home. Okay, so here we have our sound system. Actually, it's a Vitron brand. So if you plug it in on your power supply, as you can see, it doesn't power on. So what you're going to do, you're going to diagnose the power supply and everything and find out why it won't power on. Okay, so in this model, you don't need much of your tools, only your star screwdriver. So you're going to open these back screws to access your power supply, amplifier, and the parts inside. Okay, so now the back cover, once the back cover is out, I'm going to briefly show you these parts. For example, in this model, we have our power supply, we have our amplifier. This is the part that amplifies your sound. Then on the other side, there's something that looks like a speaker. That's the bass speaker. But in our this sound amplifier of ours, the client actually says it doesn't power on. For example, on the front part, it should be able to display whatever is playing. But in our model, the fault is it doesn't power. So what you're going to do first of all is to measure your power supply. Most of these components, most amplifiers use 12 volts, that is DC 12 volts. So you're going to measure using your multimeter. So this is your multimeter. You don't have to know much about it, but like I said, most power supplies supply 12 volts. Before measuring anything, you should first of all check for any, let me put it off, check for any signs of damage. For example, if you look at mine, you can see some soot. You can notice some soot especially on this part where our power supply, this is the main cable that brings in the voltage. You can notice some soot, meaning I already have some clues on where to start my diagnosis from. So you should try and be safe. So I'll first of all disassemble this part. I'll remove this part out. This is the cable that takes your voltage to your amplifier. You can remember I said this is the amplifier, this is the power supply. You can see our cable first of all comes to the power supply, then the voltage is regulated and taken to the amplifier. This is the part that does all the work. So I'm going to remove this. So like I said, where I removed this, I'm supposed to, if I measure at this, if I measure my voltage at this part, I'm supposed to get 12 volts. So I'll tune my multimeter up to 20. As you can see, my multimeter only has 2 and 20. So I'm expecting to find 12 volts. So you can't put your range at 2 because 2 is lower than 12. So you put on where it's a little bit higher. So I'm going to power the power supply, then I'm going to put it on. Now I'm going to test my 2 pins and look and test if there is my 12 volts, and actually there's nothing. It says 0 volts, meaning my power supply doesn't feed my amplifier with the 12 volts that is required. So I have already diagnosed that my power supply is faulty. So I'm going to get it out, and if you look at this, you can notice there's some soot too. You can see there's some signs of damage at that part, and on this part too. There's really a lot of soot. So in this type of damage, I'll have to introduce a new power supply Now I'll have to remove the damaged one, and it's off. So what I'm going to do is I'll first start removing my power supply, which is this cable, the two cables that give me the, because remember this power supply receives 240 volts, then it reduces it up to 12 volts. So you'll have to be careful and diagnose which part gives you the 230 and which part gives you the 12 volts. Now I'll connect these two parts. I'll connect this part. You're going to use your soldering iron. Okay. I'll disconnect these two. This is my switch. So your switch is going to go on one side, which can be the live side. Remember we are receiving AC voltage, which AC voltage you have to put your switch on the live side. So there I have it. Then on this other end, where we have the 12 volts, I'm going to connect it. Since this is DC, you have to be careful and don't connect. Since remember DC has polarity, that's where you have positive and negative, but in AC you don't have the positive and negative because it's alternating current. So you're going to measure which part gives you the 12 volts. You can see my positive is this cable, so I'll connect with the red wire. That will be my positive. Now I'll connect my negative cable. Then, because I don't want these cables to short, I'll insulate them with this tape. Now, before I continue, I'll have to test this part and measure if my power supply, this is the new power supply that I introduced. I want to find out if it really gives me the 12 volts that I need before I connect, because I don't want to risk this amplifier. So I'm going to power it on and confirm if it gives me the 12 volts that I required for my amplifier to power on. Put it on. Now I said it's DC voltage, put at 20. Now come and measure this part, and there I have my 12.3 volts. That's the required voltage to power on the sound system. It's off. Okay, now let's see if it powers on before I assemble it back. I put it on, and now you can see our sound system is back on. The volume is quite large. Now we have our sound system back very nicely. Okay guys, that is it. That's how you can repair any home sound system.